What's good? Who that Nation, man? How is everybody doing tonight? Tonight's topic, man, we're going to be covering week one. Man, week one, Tennessee Titans versus our New Orleans Saints, man. We're going to do a preview on that, cover, the roster, cover who we think is going to make a big impact, key to victories. And yes, we also have a special guest tonight, Mr. John Hendrick. He is a Saints reporter, so we're going to have him on around mid-show. He's going to be coming on to come talk with us. So make sure y'all stay tuned. Let's get into the video, y'all.
You can't see us. I Saints going to the Super Bowl, talking black and gold. Cameron Jordan on the field, about to take a QB soul. Ever Kamara break a tackle, so you know he bold. Mike Thomas catching everything, so you know he cold. He talking Byron Matthew, he talking Marcus May. We in the backfield, we gon' make them pay. Them boys hitting hard, they need an X-ray. Yeah. We talking black and gold. 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 Straight to the Super Bowl. Your time is up. Our time is now. Say hoodie, you can't see us. Our time is now. Woo. Hoodie droop in the building. We shining now. We shining. You can't see us. Our time is now. You heard me? Your time is up. Our time is now. Woo. You can't see us. Our time is now. Say hoodie droop in the building. We shining.
Here he is, Hoodie Juby.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Hoodie Juby, and we are back with another live podcast. And for those who don't know, y'all will know, there's no YouTube without your boy Hoodie Jube, y'all. I hope everybody's having a great night. You know why? Because I'm having a great night over here, ready to talk some Saints football with y'all. And we're going to have Mr. John Hendrick, Saints reporter, coming on soon. And me and him is going to talk it up about, our New Orleans Saints. I have a few questions for him and stuff like that. We also going to go over our week one preview with the Tennessee Titans, versus our New Orleans Saints this Sunday. So we're going to go over that, talk about some keys to victories and stuff like that, who I think can make a big impact in this game. So we got a lot to cover. I also want to start off the show by thanking Big Q for always, letting us use his platform every Thursday from 8 to 9, He's helping us, grow our channels, and it's basically just helping out Who Dat Nation, know every platform, out there. So, Big Q, thank you for that, man. Let's give a special shout out real quick to everybody that's in the chat waiting already. We got my boy Elite Goods, Who Dat to you. We got Brandon Stock in the building, Who Dat to you. We got It's Poppy 504 in the building. Who dat to you? We got JT in the building. Who dat? And blessings to you. We got Miss Dana. Who dat to you? Who else we got up in here? We got Saints Doug in the building. Who dat to you? We got Jerry the old freaking G in the building. Who dat to you? We got Pelicans Nola in the building. Who dat to you? Who else we got up in this thing? We got Jeremy. Who that to you, Jeremy? And I believe that's everybody so far. So everybody as y'all tuning on in, man. I know we might not get too many people watching tonight because it is, the first game of the season, Chiefs versus Lions. But it's not going to stop us from going live on our Thursday night, So I do have a few videos for y'all while we wait for Mr. John Hendrick to come in. And two of the first videos that we're going to watch is, two different basically hosts, on one of them was on Undisputed, which is Keyshawn Johnson, the uncle of Michael Thomas. He goes over and discuss who he thinks is going to make it to the Super Bowl. And then the other one is Mr. Chris Broussard, and he was on the show First Take First, with stupid Nick Wrong. Everybody knows dumb Nick Wrong. But yeah, and he tells his thoughts on who he thinks is going to come out the NFC and make it and win that NFC South, So first off, let's listen to what Mr. Chris Broussard had to say, and let's hear what this man got to say. Who's coming out the NFC?
At number 4, Knicks Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They're not mine. I have them third.
Baker, you claimed Baker years ago. He's your guy.
Yeah.
All right, and Baker will not be starting midway through the season. It'll be Kyle Trask, all right? Okay. And Todd Bowles, it's going to be a tough year for him. So at number 3, Carolina. All right, you're right. I like Bryce Young, and I like Frank Reich. So I think that's a great duo but they just don't have much else. His weapons aren't that bad. Chark and Adam Thielen, but the line is tough. And Thielen, I like Thielen. All right, at number 2, the Falcons in the playoffs. I agree with you.
You have 2 NFC South playoff teams and the Seahawks missing?
Yep.
Wow.
Because the Atlanta is their run game is great, and it's just going to get great. It was great last year. Yeah. Top 3 team in the league rushing, and now you add Bijan. He is going to have a great year. I don't know about Rookie of the Year, but he will have a great year. And then at number 1, obviously, the Saints.
I like that.
Like I said, Derek Carr, he's an upgrade. Derek Carr has never had even a top 19 defense.
Not even top
now 19. He's got a top 10 defense. First time in his career.
Can I ask you?
He's got some weapons. Chris Olave. I don't know if Thomas will stay healthy, but if he does, hey.
So, you heard it. Who he picked coming out the NFC South. The Saints. And you heard stupid Nick Right? No, his name's Nick Wrong, okay? Remember that. Put Nick Wrong in the chat because you know who he is. Nick freaking Wrong, man. So you hear him in the background trying to interrupt Mr. Chris, and asking him why you got to say, oh my God, you got the Saints coming out the NFC South. Nick Wrong, man. You just need to take something and take whatever you got up your a-hole and just, take it out, bro. You've been talking a lot of shit, bro. All you do is get mad because every year you get mad because we kicking the cans down the road with the money and we keep succeeding. We keep getting more and more. We keep getting better and better. And you're just hating on us, Mr. Nick. So shut up. Shut your goddamn mouth while people are trying to talk. And I'm going to call you out, Mr. Nick. I hope you come on my show or you invite me because I'm going to freaking rat you out and I'm going to kill you on that damn show, man. You would not be able to argue with me and try to overtalk me, Mr. Nick. Okay? First of all, y'all, so I let that out. So maybe Nick would talk, one day. Whatever. Man, screw Nick. But Chris, you heard him. He said he thinks the Saints and the Falcons are going to come out the NFC South and make it to the playoffs because of the easy schedule and stuff like that. So I kind of agree, too. I think Atlanta can do it, too. Just depends on how Desmond Ridder and all that, performs. Now, next we're going to listen to what Keyshawn had to say. Keyshawn Johnson, man. Let me know what y'all think in the comments about Mr. Chris, do you agree with him, right? And then now we're going to listen to Keyshawn, and I think everybody's going to love what Keyshawn had to say.
I got Baltimore coming out of the AFC. On the NFC side, I don't have the Dallas Cowboys. I don't have the Philadelphia Eagles. I do not have the San Francisco 49ers. I have the New Orleans Saints.
We don't need to hear, kid.
What, the who?
The New Orleans Saints.
Stop.
The New Orleans Saints?
Stop,
okay.
well,
wait, are they still playing football in New Orleans?
Okay, so here's why y'all don't like the New Orleans Saints. Because they lost last year. They were banged up. They were hurt. The head coach, Sean Payton, was doing television. Dennis Allen comes in. He doesn't get any respect because he got fired as a Raider coach, just like everybody else got fired as Raider coaches. You look at that and you say it's not sexy to you. But here's what I would say. When you look at the new quarterback, they went through 3 quarterbacks last year. Michael, you know good and well you can't win with the 3rd quarterback. You can't win with Taysom Hill, Andy Dalton. You can't win with Jameis Winston, okay? They go out there and they get Derek Carr. You got Derek Carr. Who is that? What is that? Think about the division. Think about the division for a minute. You think it's murderous row? You think when you're playing against Baker Mayfield twice and Bryce Young twice, and you think about Desmond Ridder twice, you're set up for success. Now, check this out, though, Skip. The opponents, okay, they play 4 rookies. They play rookies 4 times. They got Ryan Tannehill. Did that scare you? Bryce Young, I mentioned. Jordan Love, did that scare you? Baker Mayfield scare you? Does Mac Jones, C.J. Stroud scare you? Trevor Lawrence scare you? You compile playmaker. When you compile them victories and them wins, you get home field advantage. They got to come through New Orleans in a hostile environment. I'm just telling you, I understand the sexiness of Philadelphia. I can tell you this, the Cowboys aren't winning the division because the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the division. So you're going to be on the road.
But winning divisions does nothing for you. We are talking about Super Bowl.
It helps you get to
that garbage.
It helps you get to the Super Bowl. If you got home field advantage throughout the playoffs like Kansas City has had for the last 5 years, it's an easier path. You know that, playmaker. You've been to 3 Super Bowls. You know. If you get that first or that second seed, you got a hell of a chance of making the Super Bowl. I'm giving them that high seed because of who they play in the division that they're in. Everything else is cake for me.
Okay, and Derek Carr has done what in his postseason life?
Okay, so now you want to argue with me on that. They're not arguing with me. Communicate with me on that. I don't like to say argue. I don't like to say argue. I say communicate. Let's go with his first head coach in Dennis Allen, with Al Davis as the owner. Craziness, as you know. You covered it. You go to Jack Del Rio. Successful year. Successful year. Could have been the MVP, got hurt. Helped them get to the playoffs. They lose to Houston. He's out. Then you go to John Gruden. Come on, man, stop. We all know what that is.
You know what that is.
Then you get Rich Bisaccia, who they should have kept as a head coach.
I agree.
He willed them to the playoffs and cleaned up all that other mess. Then you get Josh McDaniels. So Josh McDaniels doesn't like him. He's not his quarterback. You kick him out, and the first thing people say is, well, he didn't like him. He got to get rid of him. He's not a franchise quarterback. Meanwhile, defensively, since 2016, they've had in points allowed, the worst defense. Since 2016, they ranked dead last. Dead last. And then I can go Raiders. When he was with the Raiders, no help. He had no receivers. They got rid of Amari Cooper. Crabtree was at the end of his career when he was there. All he had was Darren Waller until he got Devontae Adams, which they lit it up together last year. But again, defensively, he gets zero help. Now you got a team. You got Honey Badger on the defensive side. You got Cam Jordan on the defensive side.
Lattimore.
You got Lattimore in the shutdown corner spot.
I give you that.
All I'm saying, and then offensively, look at the weapons. And it is a little bit of nepotism on my side.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Go ahead. He is Michael Thomas is your.
It's my nephew.
Thank you.
My blood. Okay. And I'm going to ride or die with blood. It's thicker than water, Skip.
Okay, so you admit.
I admit that. I have no problem. Hey, Playmaker, I have no problem with that. At the end, though, Skip, Alvin Kamara, he'll miss 3 games, but that's okay. I mean, that's fine. But you got Olave. You got Juwan Johnson at the tight end. You got Mikey at the receiver position.
He's Mikey. Now he's Mikey. Okay.
That comes out because of the relationship. But you got to admit, when you think about it, because what you'll do, Skip and Mike, when we go to commercial break, y'all going to sit there and go, yeah, Key does have a good point. That's all
I'm sitting here saying Key does not have a good point.
Oh, come on.
No, I would not.
So you heard Keyshawn, man. He thinks that the Super Bowl matchup is going to be the Ravens versus the Saints. And then you hear Michael Irvin and you hear Skip Bayless in the background. Oh, no, the Saints? Oh, no. Acting like the Cowboys are going to go all the way. And when they get knocked out in the first round every damn year, they get disappointed, and they don't look at the Saints. They're not looking fully at the roster. They're not looking at what the situation was before with Derek Carr. They just look at the past and they just say, well, since the Raiders never won, their quarterback just wasn't good. Or maybe because he never had weapons around him. Maybe because he's been through so many damn head coaches. Maybe it's because he didn't have a goddamn defense. There's so many things you can put together to realize that he's not that bad of a quarterback that everybody thinks. And guess what? I think Derek Carr is going to prove a lot of people wrong this year, and he's going to move into everybody's top 10 chart this year. I'm marking that. Mark that down. Mark this down, y'all. That Hoodie Jew said this at 8:15 p.m. on September 7th, 2023. Remember this. We said it right here on the Hoodie Jew podcast and the Pro Media. Derek Carr is going to be on the top 10 QB list after the season. He's going to shock a lot of people. Mark that. Mark that in your books. So, Keyshawn, he's going with the Saints all the way. He's saying, look at the damn schedule. Look at the division they in. That's going to get you home field advantage basically all the way. And he said that's going to help you win more because you got home field advantage. And he said, and the team is good. He said Derek Carr finally got him a defense. The offensive weapons around him are amazing. And he said, yeah, my nephew does play for the team. That is my blood nephew. So I would rather die with the blood, in my family. So totally understand all of that as well, right? So people just need to start opening their eyes, start writing down everything, start doing their research, and start looking at the stats of Derek Carr and how he played. Look at the people he had around him, and look at the coaches, the defense, and all of that, and see, was it really Carr's fault on why he's not a winning quarterback with the Raiders? Do your research before you just talk out your butt. All right? Keyshawn did it. You heard Chris over there said it. There are sports analysts out there that do have a smart mind. They know how to do their research before they talk out their butts, right? Then you got people like Nick Wright, Skip Bayless. Um, Matter of fact, I hate to say it, Michael Irvin, dog, he's just stuck and glued to his Cowboy because that's who he won Super Bowls with. So he thinks the Cowboys are going to win it every year, and he's going to say that it's not even possible for the Saints to win a playoff game. He's saying there's not a possible way of us making it. He said we can make it to the playoffs because he said the division's kind of open, but he said there's no damn way we can win a game in the playoffs. He said we're going to be one and going. And then Keyshawn called him out too and said, so one and going like your Cowboys. Yeah. Keyshawn got his butt bad for us. One and done, just like your Cowboys. So that's what you're saying. Okay. So, like I tell people, do your research. Keyshawn, proud of you, man. Thank you for sticking up for our Saints. Chris Broussard, thank you for sticking up for our Saints. And Derek Carr, at least some people do their research, right? Thank y'all. Now, next, we're going to move on to another video. And that is Mr. Dennis Allen from, I think, a day or two ago. He got interviewed, asked about the Titans, asked about practices, roster, stuff like that. So let's hear what Coach Dennis Allen had to say. And then hopefully by the time this video ends with Dennis Allen, we'll have Mr. John Hendrick, Saints reporter, pop in, pretty soon. So let's hear what Dennis Allen had to say.
It was a good practice day. A lot of energy out there. It's exciting. Opening up the regular season. So we got a huge challenge this week against a really good football team. I mean, it's a team that started off the season last year 7-3, and then their quarterback went out and lost the last 7 games. But this is a really good football team that we're playing, and on both sides of the ball and in the kicking game. So it'll be a huge test for us opening up the season in the Dome.
Yeah, I noticed Taysom listed as a QB on the roster. Is there a reason that you guys changed that from tight end?
Probably more of a clerical thing than anything else. But, Taysom took, I think, about almost 50% of his snaps last year at the quarterback position. So I don't know that there's anything really to that other than he kind of plays a lot of different positions.
Does that have anything to do with, like, the emergency QB roles, like just how you guys might configure?
Well, I think when you look at it and you say he plays almost 50% of his snaps at the quarterback position, we just listed him there.
How much was Marshawn able to work in?
He was limited today, so we'll see where he's at on Wednesday.
Dennis, from a defensive standpoint, what's the first thing for Tennessee that you got to stop?
Well, I don't think there's any question that, this team runs a lot of their offense through the running game, particularly Derrick Henry. Obviously, with Tajay Spears being there now, they've got a couple of different runners that they can utilize. But you have to be able to stop, the run, play action game, and, hopefully get them into some longer yardage situations. So that'll be a big part of what we do.
Is his size, does that make how you play, where you might play a different running back a different way? Do you have to play him differently?
Well, I would say you got to get 11 guys around the ball, because I think they led the league in terms of, yards after contact in the running game. And so he's a really good back, strong, physical, has great speed. He's able to break the long ones. And then they utilize him in the screen game too. I think that's important. They do a really good job on a lot of their play action screen game.
Because I don't think you all faced him either time, last time you played. Does that make it even more of a challenge as you never actually played?
Well, I don't know that. It'll be our first experience seeing him up live and in person. So it's probably easier to defend him when he wasn't on the field. But yeah, look, he's a dynamic back. He's one of the better backs in our league, so it'll be a challenge for us.
Is there a characteristic of the Mike Vrabel coach team?
Yeah, tough, smart, disciplined. They play a lot of close games. They don't beat themselves. they take advantage of, when their opponents make mistakes. So I think they're generally one of the more physical teams that plays in our league.
The fact that Taysom, when you had a certain amount of snaps last year, your record was really good. Does that figure into how you might, even though you have a new quarterback, but
yeah, I think all those things play into account. We'll have a game plan to utilize all of our, skill players. Try to put our guys always in the best position to have success. And so, we'll have a plan to be able to utilize him. How we utilize him may change from week to week, but certainly he'll be a big part of what we're trying to do.
You guys able to give an update on Kendrick Miller?
No. There'll be an injury report come out on Wednesday, so
I'm assuming that you guys don't expect him to play, or that's still.
I wouldn't make any assumptions.
Do you feel like y'all have more varied weapons on offense that you can draw on this season compared to last season?
Yeah, look, I mean, we got Mike Thomas back. Obviously, he adds an element to our offense. I think we got a couple of young receivers that, are going into their second year that have a chance to take a step forward. We've got varied weapons at the tight end position, some different things that we can utilize at the running back position. So yeah, I think we have more weapons offensively, and we'll try to put them in the best position to utilize them, and hopefully have some success with that.
I know Tim Kelly was there last year, but first year in the OC role. Like when you're going against a new OC, do you have to almost be more prepared to adjust on the fly?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think anytime you go into the first game of the year, teams don't usually show a lot in the preseason, so it's hard to really get an evaluation of exactly what they want to do. I think there's probably some core principles that will remain the same. I don't expect to see, a totally different offense, but yeah, we'll have to be able to adjust to whatever they're doing and kind of get a feel for how he's going to call the game.
How much better do you think you are offensively?
Well, I think we'll find out. I feel confident in where we're at offensively. I like what I've seen all throughout training camp and in the preseason, so I think we're in a good spot.
Dennis, I know it's goofy and I'm sorry, do you feel any different at this point this year than last year? Is there a level of comfort that you can maybe detect in yourself that's you feel a little bit more comfortable in the role this year than last year or not?
Look, I mean, I get asked that question a lot. I would just say I'm confident in our football team. I think we've had a really good camp. I think we've executed at a high level, really in all three phases throughout training camp. And so I feel confident in what this team's able to do.
Is getting off to, you just referenced the team that got off to a good start and then dealt with some issues last year.
Yeah.
I know that most of the success here, maybe in 17, it was always a good start.
Yeah, I think, look, a lot of times people talk about must-win games and things of that nature, and so I would never say that this is a must-win game. I think getting off to a good start is important, but yet it's not the end-all, be-all in terms of where you finish the season. But yeah, I think anytime you get a chance to start off fast and hopefully stack some wins together early on in the season. When you're going to face some adversity, you're going to face some injury issues as the season wears on, banking a few wins is always good.
You never quite know, we saw that last night, how openers are going to go. As a coach, is there a little more added concern when you I know you had preseason games, but when it starts and you're not totally sure what you're going to get?
Well, I don't think that's unique to any other season. You got to start the season at some point, and so we'll start this thing on Sunday and go out against a really good team, and we'll have a good game plan. We'll play well in this game, and we'll see how it goes.
What do you have to watch for with Jeffrey Simmons on the Titan defense?
Well, he's a big, powerful guy inside. they got a lot of good guys up front. They were number one in the league last year in stopping the run, so that presents a challenge. And then they probably do as good a job or as most in terms of just being able to get pressure on the quarterback with a four-man rush. It hadn't been a heavy pressure team, so I think the line of scrimmage in this game, really on both sides of the ball, is going to be a big factor.
So speaking of that, it looks like the Titans have some personnel changes on the offensive line.
Yeah.
What did you see them trying to accomplish? How do you expect those changes to?
Yeah, I don't expect a lot different in terms of what they do, in terms of the core philosophy of who they are offensively. Obviously, we expect probably to see 4 new starters, and then the 5th, was moving from center to guard. So, in essence, they got 5 new guys, playing in different spots on their offensive line. So, but I don't expect a whole lot different in terms of the way they approach the game.
In concert with that, you've got some changeover on the defensive line, particularly on the interior. How do you feel that matches up, or your unit matches up?
Yeah, look, I feel good about the matchups. Like I said before, I think, the team that controls the line of scrimmage is probably going to have a pretty good chance of success in this game. And so I think that's going to be a big factor.
So how are you feeling after your rest day?
So, y'all heard it from Coach Dennis Allen, basically, and it's funny how a lot of people do ask the same question, do you feel like you feel more comfortable in the role that you are in this year than last year and stuff like that? He never really gave everybody a true honest answer on that, which is, kind of fun. He just basically just went, I just feel really comfortable, and confident in this team, really good camp and stuff like that. So, but to us, as Saints fans and all that, we look at him, we all say he does seem more confident. He does seem like he's more it seems like he's more talkative and better with the answering and stuff like that at the podium. I don't know. He just seems like he has a lot more confidence this year. So I don't know if it's just because, hey, he feel like he's got his quarterback now. He's got the roster that he thinks he can prove everybody wrong now and win. But we'll see. But we do have Mr. John Hendrick in the back waiting to come on. So let's bring on the Saints reporter, Mr. John Hendrick. How you doing, Mr. John?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm doing good, man, and thank you for coming on. Because it's hard trying to get all these different reporters. I've been trying to get you, trying to get Ross, I'm trying to get Nick, I'm trying to get everybody, in here and get everybody's opinion on, our Saints and stuff. So, thank you for coming.
Sure. Yeah, no problem, man.
So, basically, I just wanted to talk to you and go over, about this Saints and Titans, matchup, and basically get your thoughts on the Saints, coming up this season, and one of the questions would be with the New Orleans Saints roster that we have, and going up against a guy like Derrick Henry and us having, being, I think, finishing 20 something, I think it was like 26 last year in run defense, and we made some changes and added, guys like Saunders, Nathan Shepard, Brian Breesy and stuff like that. Could you see this defensive line, being better at stopping the run this year with the roster we have this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a huge sore spot. And, the biggest things is Shy Tuttle, David Onyemata, and even Kentavious Street. Big part of that interior last year. And so, look, I thought Tuttle and Onyemata didn't really play as well as they should, and I'm just really surprised that they got the contracts they did. But, look, good for them. But, what they ended up doing is replaced them with a lot more athletic guys inside. And, look, I'll tell you, Colin Saunders, he's listed at 324, 325, but he's actually like 317, 318. He's playing in that 315 to 318 range. And big man can move. And so they got guys in the middle that are more athletic. Not only that, but they have a better pass rush win rate, going for them too. And, you get that Malcolm Roach, who had a very good training camp, and then the rookie on there. I think this interior is going to be a lot better than what we've seen, but it's a complete makeover there. I think we've seen a lot of good things on the edge. And look, you played a clip about Dennis Allen talking about controlling the line of scrimmage. This goes for both of them, right? Because Titans had the number 1 ranked run defense last year, and that was last year. And the Saints, we know the problems Derrick Henry poses, not just him, but Tyjae Spears. look, everything I've seen in training camp leads me to believe that this front seven is going to be very good for this team. But no doubt, make no mistake, I think this defensive line, they're going to have a lot of pressure on them. But, look, they accept it because Cam Jordan had told us before, he's like, of the group that's on the defensive line, nobody knows anybody except Cam Jordan. And I think that's pretty fair. And so I think they play with a little bit of chip on their shoulder, a lot of undrafted guys, but, they'll carry as far as they can take them.
Gotcha. And basically, let's kind of talk about this Titans game coming up. What would be your key to victory? For our New Orleans Saints, like what would we have to do to basically win this game against the Titans?
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a few things. I mean, really, you can't completely shut down Derrick Henry. It's just not possible. Derrick Henry is going to get his, right? And I think the biggest thing is limiting what he's able to do in the open field. Because if he gets out in space, he does those types of things, he's a nightmare to try to tackle and bring down. Don't let him get to that second and third level. Try to make his what he does to you minimal. Try to make Ron Tannehill beat you. You got to get the pass rush going. Again, controlling the line of scrimmage is one thing, but I think the Saints team, on the flip side, they have a couple of big tasks. I mean, this is a 3-4 defense that they're going to be playing against. You talk about Trevor Penning. This is his first big game action, really, and he's going to be protecting $100 million quarterback in Derek Carr. So that's a really important thing for sure. Get the pass pro going. I think the Saints can run the football in one, and it's not just Jamal Williams. I think it's Taysom Hill. I think they have some other wrinkles that they could have with Adam Prentice. Remains to be seen. I think Kirk Merritt is probably that next guy up in that mix. But, look, give Derek Carr enough time to cook because this Titans pass defense is not that good. And so they got some playmakers in the back end, but, I think the Saints with their weapons can find a lot of things underneath. They can find things in the intermediate routes, intermediate in deep area. There's a lot to be said. The biggest things for me, I would say, is you got to get takeaways and you got to smart complementary football. And I know everybody says you got to play complementary football. That's a given, right? But the Saints, when they got one area that doesn't work with, if you're not with all three, that's just never a winning formula for this team. They just don't catch those breaks. And so that and the self-discipline, because we saw a lot of penalties in preseason. We saw a lot of penalties, period. This team's going to have, their hands full. They've got to be able to not shoot themselves in the foot. That's something that they've done in the past 2 years is just shoot themselves in the foot, not playing the complementary football. And then obviously when the stuff counts, you got to show up to the occasion.
Gotcha. And Mr. John, I wanted to ask you this too. Is there anybody, I guess you can say, new additions, so anybody from free agency, besides Derek Carr, I guess to say, besides Derek Carr, is there anybody from free agency, the draft, or undrafted, free agents that you can see stepping up this year and, making a big impact for us?
I mean, there's tons. I mean, I think, first of all, it's Jamal Williams. You got to start with him. I think this is, if you remember the days with Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, boom and zoom, I think as Kamara comes back, Jamal Williams is going to be so good for this team. And look, you add on Kendre Miller. He's done with a hamstring injury right now, so he's probably going to be playing this Sunday. Hopefully they can give him in for Monday night against the Panthers. But look, I think Jamal Williams is super talented. He provides a very big burst of energy for this team. Look, I think he's not just a guy that just does short yardage and gets touchdowns. He can run the football in a lot of different ways and areas, and he can also catch the ball. I was just looking at some old film when he was with the Packers. They had him on wheel routes. They gave him screens. They did all sorts of different things on the route tree. And so I'm excited about him first and foremost. And of course, when you look at other new additions, you look at kind of where they're at on the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, Colin Saunders, Nathan Shepard, those are two of the guys that obviously you really want to look at a lot. Just guys that are going to be able to help you out in this. I don't know if we'll see too much from Isaiah Foskey this season. I think he can do something, but I don't think he's just there yet. A.T. Perry's a guy on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know how much involvement he'll have, but look, he's earned his way onto this roster. I think he's definitely a guy that's on the ascending path. For me, I think Jordan Howden's a guy that's very underrated coming in here. He's, JT Gray's dealing with a shoulder injury. Howden, I think, is going to take those gunner reps with Isaac Yiadom. And so I think Howden's played blue chip collar kind of worker this team. I think he's a guy that can really, in the grand scheme of things, he's going to be an extra defensive back in dime packages or, anything late game situations. I mean, they really hit something special with this guy. But look, I think all of these guys, including like Blake Grupe, he's got a big task on his hand. Lou Hedley has a big task on his hand. There's just so many different ones, but ultimately Derek Carr headlines that list. Jamal Williams is going to be a close one, and then their new defensive additions, and then a couple of their rookies that I think are going to play a big part in whether this team is successful, not successful, or they can make a deep postseason run.
Definitely. And I guess another really going, because I seen somebody, I think he's a Raiders YouTuber, but he's also covering, NFL now, and he's really covering the Saints lately because he's in love with Derek Carr, because he's a Raiders fan and he believes in him and he's happy for him because he's got a better defense and stuff. And there was one thing that I keep noticing that, like, in 2 or 3 different videos he posted, and I wanted to ask you this question to see if maybe you see the same thing. He said there's a receiver that he think is gonna have a good, not a breakout like a 1,000-yard season type of guy, but he thinks it's a veteran that can get, easily probably 500 to 700 yards, and help pick up some plays when you need them to. And he said that's no other than Keith Kirkwood. And he said because he heard about the offseason with Keith Kirkwood going to get a workout with Derek Carr, just kept coming in, studying the playbook, just kept getting more reps with him. And you seen in preseason, that's what he went to for the touchdown. And he said he thinks Keith Kirkwood could be one of those sneaky guys, this year. I mean, do you see Keith Kirkwood, maybe taking a little leap? Because, I mean, he's been here a few times and we just never really seen him make big plays for us.
I think he can take a leap. And this is what I was telling fans. I was a little bit surprised with the Traquan Smith stuff, but I've told people I put Kirkwood on my final 53. I tell him, I said he's earned a roster spot. That's what I'd say. He's looked good in training camp. He's made contested catches. He just does a little bit of everything. He does the work. He does a lot of things that, most people just don't see. And I get it if you have past whatever about him, but this is the present tense now. He is somebody that could be sneaky because you look at their big guys, their big three. It's going to be Thomas. It's going to be Olave. I think Olave is going to have an outstanding year. I think Thomas is going to have a very solid year. Rashid Shaheed is definitely one of those guys in the equation, but he's also been dealing with a hamstring injury, right? And so, the groin injury. So I think that's one of those things where you just kind of got to pay attention because those things can sneak back up on you. And so, again, Kirkwood is a guy that I think when you look at all the ways New Orleans can beat you, look at Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Jimmy Graham, Kamara in the backfield. Kirkwood is a guy that can find success on this team. But I think with him having that many yards, that's implying that Derek Carr is at least throw for 3,500 yards, maybe almost get to that 4,000 mark. And so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. So I think that, Kirk is a guy, sneaky one. He's played extremely hard. I think his confidence is at an all-time high. And guy's one of the nicest guys in the locker room, for us to interact with. But he's a very likable dude behind the scenes, and I really think he can have some sneaky type of year.
Gotcha. And this would be another question. It's kind of basically staying in with the wide receivers. So you already know that Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed are basically your lock, top threes, basically, receivers. So after them, who will be your 4 and your 5? Like, who you think is going to see a lot more playing time? Is it going to be Kirkwood and, Perry? Is it going to be Traquan and Kirkwood? Once Traquan comes back, like, who you see being out on the field more? Like, who's your number 4 and number 5?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's Kirkwood and then Perry. And then Traquan, I mean, we'll see. And the thing I can tell people is, I've seen him around the facility. I've seen him in the locker room. He's around, so that's a good thing. Same thing with, like, Kendre Miller, JT Gray. If they were away from the building, I'd be a lot more concerned. But, again, Traquan, bad injury luck. I mean, this is a guy who's history of injuries. And Dennis Allen was talking early on. He's like, he's finally healthy. He's not. And so that's always been a problem for him. And so Traquan, he needs to get right. They do like him in a lot of different situations. I mean, this is a big year for him potentially. And so you look at the odd man out, I think he's facing a more uphill battle. I mean, I love the way A.T. Perry has come on. He's been up and down in camp, mini camp, OTAs, all those types of things, training camp. But I really like what A.T. Perry's done to make this roster. But, pecking order, it's definitely Kirkwood after the big 3. And then I see A.T. Perry. And when Traquan comes back, we'll kind of have to see, because if those other 2 guys are playing really well, I don't think you can make a case to say, let's just roll out Traquan, who hasn't been playing, hasn't been doing anything in camp,
Yeah,
just putting him out there. I just don't see that.
definitely. Because I mean, I think a lot of the Saints fans, I mean, I can speak for a lot of them. They all want Traquan gone. I mean, we understand the part. He is a really good, he probably is one of the best wide receiver blockers on our teams, that can help you with the run game. We understand that. But if you're not here, you can barely even play in the season for us because you're always injured and stuff. And you don't even make the big plays anymore like you used to. Like, what's the point of even having a guy on him when you can add somebody else to the roster, like a guy like Zach Davis, who we've seen in preseason, who was like really talented and somebody that I was hoping would have made the actual 53-man roster. But I think, somebody like Davis is somebody that I can see getting brought up, getting activated maybe for a few games to see what he can do in a real, NFL game for us. So we'll see. But like I said, I speak for a lot of Saints fans. They don't like Traquan anymore. They kind of waiting for him to go. Um, but he's still here, so we can't do nothing about it till they decide to trade him or release him. I wouldn't be shocked that they trade Traquan to the Denver Broncos midseason. Because how Sean Payton is stealing everybody from us. And somebody came up with this question, and I want to ask you this: why was Sean so ready to take a break and just move on from the New Orleans Saints? If you're gonna take all our Saints players anyway, what's the difference? You was tired of the city, or I mean, what was you tired of, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, look, he was really burnt out. I mean, I think it was wearing because you see I don't say bias, but just some of the things that were not going his way. I mean, NFC Championship thing, that loan thing, the league, just all these different things like the COVID suspensions or the COVID violations, the fines. It's just, it's just never a good look, I guess. And look, Sean had done this for a long time. One of the most tenured coaches out there with one team. Belichick's the other one, Tomlin's another one. And so, again, you run its course. You feel like you do things. I think once he lost Drew and then rolled out that team, it was really hard for him to put this position. Look, I mean, you look at all the quarterbacks they ran through, right? It was Jameis, it was Trevor Siemian, it was Taysom, it was Ian Book, even that one game. That was a tough year, and the offense just couldn't get it done. The defense did everything they could, especially the past couple of years. But, I think it's burnt out. But again, you go to instill your brand at a different location. You want guys that you can trust and guys that what it takes to win and to do the things in certain modus operandi type things, business as usual from them, right? And so that's guys like Streif in the locker room, Declan Doyle, all these guys that he knows are drafted or doing. I mean, that's why they take them. And so I'm thankful in some of the guys that are still on this coaching staff and some of the players, but look, he's picking them up where he can, and it comes full circle. Like Tony Jones Jr. was there, now he's back with the Saints, and so I'm sure there will be some things, and if Traquan gets traded or he gets released, I mean, Sean's going to pick him up or he's going to find a way to get him. That's just how it's going to go.
Yeah, I can see Sean taking a lot of people off waivers or trade, or somehow he's going to try to get a hand on some more Saints players. I had to see it happen, or coaching staff, by the way, too. I can see it happening. I got a few more questions for you, and one of the questions I got to ask Bob Rose, and he answered it, how he thought. And this is what I want to know about, what's your thoughts on this? When you found out that they said that the Saints was trading Will Lutz to the Broncos, and then they also went out with saying Blake Gillikin was released, they said Lou Haley won the punting job and Blake Grupe won the kicking job. Was this like a shocker to you? Because I mean, to me, it was a shocker to me just because I felt like win now mode. We ain't trying to rebuild yet. Why they not going with the veterans? Why they going with younger rookies? So, like, was you shocked, or was you kind of like not really because they were performing really well in camp?
Well, I thought it could go either way, and I can make the case for both of them, right? And that's the thing is where I was looking at is that, it was so close to call. I said Ty goes to the runner, so Lutz was my guy. Same thing with Gillikin, is just so close there, and it was a difference of one missed kick, right? And so my biggest thing is I get it, because if Lutz was still the kicker, you still have to solve the problem next year, because Lutz is going to be a free agent after this year. He took less money. He can make it up back in contract incentives and stuff. So if you do stick it out with Grupe, you're going to have 4 years of him. Same thing with the guy Ledley. My biggest thing was, and I believe Blake Grupe is a guy that people are going to say, okay, that's him. He can do everything he needs to. And then, but, my biggest thing was, let's say the NFC Championship's on the line. You'd rather have Will Lutz kicking for you to try to go to the Super Bowl than Blake Grupe. And I think this is a move that we won't really see pan out and really make a judgment on until it gets into December, January, and maybe the playoff. Did they make the right move or the wrong move? But look, these two are very talented. I would give a nod to Darren Rizzi, the special teams coach. He was telling us today that he's been in the same situation where he had 2 rookies when he was with Miami. And so it's a challenge, but I think it's a good challenge, and they feel good about where they go. And you look at Blake Gillikin, man, he's so inconsistent, right? I mean, this is a guy that can boom it, but you look at that Bengals game last year, he's the main reason why they lost this game is because you go out there, boot a shank a punt for 20-something yards, give Joe Burrow and that Jamar Chase offense just a shorter field to work with. You can't do that. And so I think Heavy has a different style, the Aussie style, that it's a very unique style of punting that, I think he can get the job done. He looks really cool, intimidating from those tats and stuff. But, I think it was too close to call. And I think, again, we were tie goes to runner. So I wasn't shocked at everything. And I'm glad they got something for Lutz. That was my only thing about releasing Bradley Roby. Again, I was a little bit shocked there. I thought they could get some compensation for Roby. That was my thing is, you traded Lutz, you got compensation. Why couldn't you have done that with Roby? Maybe it's out of respect to say he could pick his next team, or somebody's going to call him. But, it's all in the NFL. It's a business. And, I like what they did with Alontae Taylor because they do believe a lot in him.
Definitely, and you can see with the way people interview Alontae Taylor, he believes a lot in himself as well, and he's got that CJ Gardner-Johnson attitude on the field. So I feel like once he gets it down pack, once he knows how to play that slot corner, he's gonna be the next CJ Gardner-Johnson with that attitude, great tackling, great speed, great coverage. I think he's gonna be the next CJ for our team. So I believe in him. I guess the next 2 questions, the last 2 basically would be, what is your prediction for the Saints this year? You don't have to give me like your total win, percentage or whatever, but how do you see this team, performing if everybody stays healthy? Because I've been trying to tell my people, I've been trying to tell other people, and I argue with them on Twitter. I try to tell them I think the Saints are going to go far this year. You got a way better quarterback in Derek Carr who can run your offense. He's in a way better situation now with a great top 10, maybe top 5 defense, depending on how that front 7 holds up for it this year. He's got great weapons around him, and Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, A.T. Perry. Then you go to Jawan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Jimmy Graham, Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams. You name it. Like, we got talent all over the place on this roster. You got one of the easiest schedule, and you got the easiest division in the NFL. And people are still trying to say we're gonna go 7-10 or 8-9 or 9-8. I don't think they're really looking into it at all, and I don't think they realize we finished 7-10 last year with a guy named Andy Dalton who couldn't run the offense, and we had a bunch of injuries last year. And one big injury was Marshawn Lattimore, who missed 10 games last year, and we still finished with the number 2 passing defense. Like, now you putting Lattimore back into that passing defense, it's gonna get even scarier. So I try to tell people I think we're gonna go for it, and I think my floor for them will probably be 10-7, maybe 11-6. But I think our ceiling can go easily be like a 13-4, 14-3 team, because there's only a few teams I look at that I'm like, they can beat us, which is probably the Lions, probably the Giants, and I think the other team was the Jags, that I'll kind of just look at. And maybe the Titans, because it's just the first game of the season. We got to get our chemistry together. But other than that, those are the teams that basically I'm be like, yeah, they can beat us, but they don't scare me and say, like, I'm scared to play this team. So, I mean,
Right.
how
Yeah.
you see our season perform, how you see this turning out?
Yeah, I mean, I took them to go 11-6, so I think that's kind of where my sweet spot. Now, I think they have a higher ceiling. I think they can be 13-4. A lot of things have to go right here. But look, I think just being around this team every day, the locker room mood, this is probably the best pulse I've had on this team in a while. Like the past few years with COVID and just other things, like it's been difficult, but I think this team is re-energized, rejuvenated with Derek Carr. Everybody's super excited about what Carr is going to bring to the table. And that's the biggest thing is Carr doesn't have to come in here and be this big superstar. Nobody's saying he has to be Drew Brees, and he knows that. He just got to run a competent, good offense, because you look at the Saints defense last year, last 8 games, they allowed 20 points or less, and they won half of them. How does that happen? You know what I'm saying? Is you get a competent offense, you're scoring at least 21, 24 points a game. So it's just one of those things that makes me feel optimistic. Now, the division, look, a lot of people are picking Atlanta. I'm not sold on Atlanta because, A, their offensive line is a little bit suspect, and their quarterback situation, because you're not going to convince me Desmond Ridder is going to be your 17-game starter. I think Taylor Heineke, they're going to do some flip-flop in there. They got a lot of weapons, a lot of mouths to feed. I just don't think Ritter's the guy. I think they'll be better defensively, but, I think they're going to threaten and challenge. I think they're the second threat to the Saints to win the division, but I still think the Saints come out on top. Carolina's kind of rebuild a little bit. I don't expect too much in their first year with Frank Reich, but I think there's somebody that can surprise some people. And then Tampa's just kind of at the bottom, right? And Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, they're not serious, right? They're dealing from all the Super Bowl fallout. So I think they're going to go and win the NFC South. I think they can get in as a 3 seed, maybe the 4 seed, of course, is as low as they can go. But I think 3 seed sounds about right. I think Philly's probably your top seed right now until we see otherwise. I think the Saints can threaten for that, though. But look, I think they make the win the division, at least hosting a wild card game. I think they can make a deep postseason run if certain things keep going right. But I feel good about Derek Carr. I feel great about him running things. I think he's going to get a lot of control here. I think he definitely is going to have a lot more control of the offense. He's going to make checks at the line like Drew did instead of Eric McCoy doing it for the past couple of years. He's got weapons at his disposal. This defense, you mentioned top 10. I see him definitely top half, top 10, and I can see them getting into that top 5 conversation if a lot of things go right. And so the main thing is they got to get some takeaways, and I think they can get after the quarterback. So I'm really optimistic on New Orleans. I know people are starting to be a little bit more bullish, but these 7-10 seasons or this stuff, I don't know what kind of garbage people are looking at, but it's the national media. They just got a narrative or whatever the case, but they're not going 7-10, 8-9. If that happens, it has to go, man, because he's assembled his players, he's assembled his coaches, he's got his everybody picked. If it doesn't work, that's on him, and you can't convince fans to sit through another thing that when you got that much talent on the field.
Definitely, and just to kind of piggyback off of you, because I know you said we'll probably get 3 or 4th, depending on how everything goes, and the Eagles should hold on to that number 1. I did talk to somebody on Twitter and posted it, and I told them, I said, I think the Saints can easily get that number 1 spot in the NFC, and I don't think the Eagles even have a shot at getting that number 1 this year. And a lot of people are like, well, why? They went to the Super Bowl last year. They still got a good roster. I'm like, yeah, but they still lost a good few key pieces on offense. They lost their running back. Yes, they picked up DeAndre Swift, but can Swift stay healthy for them? Their defense, they lost a few pieces on defense. They lost their DC. And also, if you go just look up their schedule right now, their last 11 games that they have, 9 of them were in the playoffs last year, and all 9 of them gotten better and can easily be a playoff / Super Bowl, contender team. And they got to play against that. Last year, they played a lot of easy people because the first 2 years with Hurts, they wasn't really doing nothing until the new head coach came in, and then boom, they exploded. But now you played against easy people. Now it's the same. I think it's the same thing now. Like we swap it now with them. Now we got the easy schedule and a stack roster. Now see how far can we go. And I think that's what's going to happen. So that's why I tell people I don't know about the Eagles this year. Like, yes, I think they're still going to be competitive and good, but don't be shocked that they lose a lot of games because they got some tough schedule this year.
And their division's a lot too. I mean, Dallas is Dallas. I mean, I think they're going to threaten. I think Washington's going to be a better team this year. And then you got the Giants, who were a team that really caught fire. So I think they're going to have a little bit of struggle. I could see it because, we're just looking at it tonight and watching the game. CJ Gardner-Johnson had a lot of turnovers for this team. And so, I could see it. I say right now, that's where I feel like he could be that top spot. But solid point. I think that, all things considered, that's a lot of turnover to make sure that you're going to stay on top. And so again, they're going to have to go through the gauntlet, and that's what real teams are made of. Is you have to be able to prove yourself and win those hard games, and they may not find it in their favor this time.
Definitely. And last question, because I know we're about to get out of here and get off for Mr. Dell 17. He can go live next. And the last question would be this Sunday's game with the Titans versus our Saints at noon. Who are you picking to win, and what would be your score prediction? Like, what you think the score is going to look like?
Yeah, I'm taking the Saints. It's 27-21 is what I come up with. I think that it's going to be kind of this back and forth type thing. Everybody feeling each other out because it's the first game. Kind of, to see what's what. And it could be as close as 27-24, but I think the Saints will find a way to be able to get up a little bit and then lean on that defense to make Hill beat you a little bit. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me. Get off to a good start, a hot start as fast as you can, put some points up on the board. It doesn't have to be touchdowns necessarily, but make that pressure a little bit more on Tannehill. But look, they're going up against a very well-coached team in Mike Vrabel. And so could go either way, but I feel good about the Saints. They've won their last 4 season openers. Titans have lost their last 2. Maybe that's bad juju for both sides or good juju for everybody. But, ultimately this season is not going to be decided by one game, but I do feel good about the Saints. Everything that we've seen, that they put it together and come out with a win.
Definitely. And just to give you mine, I'm picking the Saints to win. I said we're gonna win 31-21. And the reason why I feel like we can win pretty big by 10 points is I feel like we can, with the offense we have and the defense, I feel like we're gonna have a lot of opportunities with the ball. I think we can easily score a touchdown each quarter, so that's 28. And I feel like we're gonna get at least one field goal for Blake Groupie in there. So that's why I say 31. And I'm being nice to give them 21. But you never know. They always say stuff on TV like, "Oh, look, it's the Saints' first time ever playing against a guy like Derrick Henry. He's always been hurt. You never know. He might step off the plane and chip his toe, and he can't play now. We might not play Derrick Henry again. Still, you know how them little random stuff be coming on. They're like, "Oh, this guy never missed a field goal this year yet," and then boom, he misses it. So like, I'm hoping it's not one of them things because I really would like to see this defense how we can play against a healthy Tennessee Titans team and finally get to play against one of the leaders, probably one of the best running backs in the league in Derrick Henry. And this is what's going to show us, like, if we can win this game, like you said, win in the trenches and stop Derrick Henry, then we know that we probably set for the rest of the year with that front seven, because this is going to be probably one of their toughest tasks with, basically a guy that's only going to pound it down your throat every damn play just about. So I'm ready.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited for this season. And I just want to thank you again, Mr. John, for coming on.
Appreciate you, man. I really do. And with the conversation, it's always great to talk with fans. So, and give them a little bit of insight on this team that I love to cover.
Definitely. And you do an amazing job over there with all your reporting and stuff. So congrats on everything.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks again for having me.
Thanks again, man. Who dat to you?
Who dat?
So that was Mr. John Hendrick, man, Saints reporter. Let's thank him again for coming on. Like I said, it was amazing to have him on the show. Like I said, it's hard to get these Saints reporters on the show lately because it's just, it's basically, Saints season now. It's hard to get everybody. I've been trying to get Ross Jackson back on the show to ask him a few more questions. Trying to get Nick Underhill, which, he's super busy with his show. So, like, they got all these Saints reporters I'm trying to get on. But luckily, we got Mr. John Hendrick to come on tonight. So, like I said, everybody just thank him in the chat for me. And thank you again, Mr. John. And also thank you, Big Q, for letting us use your platform, man. Everybody who's on the Pro Media Network or in my live right now, make sure y'all stay tuned. Maybe not in this live, just hurry up and hop over onto the next Pro Media that's going live, which is Dell 17, the Keeping It Real Who Dat Sports Podcast. He's going live on the Pro Media Network as well. So make sure y'all go tune in to that. But thank you, everybody that tuned in tonight. We know we got the Chiefs versus the Lions game on. So if y'all watching that game, man, enjoy the game tonight. NFL football is back. I'm super excited. By the way, make sure y'all hit the like button on the Pro Media side. Come over to the Hoodie Juve side. Hit that like button for me as well. If you're new to the Pro Media Network, hit the subscribe button for Big Q. If you're new and you want to, listen to some more Saints live podcasts, videos, and stuff as well, I also do that on my channel, the Hoodie Juve. So go search up Hoodie Juve and hit that subscribe button for your boy. And also the Pro Media Network and my channel as well do have memberships, and make sure y'all go purchase some memberships and, you know, support the channel. So appreciate everybody. Hope everybody have a great night. Thanks again, Mr. John Hendrick and Big Q, y'all. Everybody have a great night. I'll see y'all again probably Sunday. So who that, y'all? Who that?